Young people have been a force of nature, a real propellant for big thinking on climate, and have opened up the aperture, I think, in terms of the imagination folks had going into the last campaign cycle.
A group of young activists finished their more than 250-mile march to stir up support for fighting climate change.
We can combat this with a fair economy in establishing a climate corps.
If President Biden truly wants to build back better, we can't think of a better way to start than fully funding a civilian climate corps.
The Biden administration just unveiled the American Climate Corps, a program to put 20,000 people to work in clean energy and climate resiliency. But what does that actually mean? I talked to Ali Zaidi, the National Climate Advisor for the White House, to find out.
The American Climate Corps is an effort to engage young people from all corners of the country and pull them in not only into a pathway to decarbonize the economy, but into a pathway to a job that can help support a family and a career in clean energy, in conservation, in the work of making our country more resilient.
What are some of the specific jobs a person could get in the American Climate Corps?
I'll give you an example of Corps members that have been doing wildland firework in Colorado. We know that wildfires, when they meet a forest that's not managed, burn faster and with greater fury. Corps members are involved in forest management practices. That's science-based work to thin the fuel that's available, to learn the underlying science of it, and maybe in the long run to become part of the U.S. Forest Service. In the Gulf Coast, there's actually a model for a corps like this called Resilience Force, where young people are helping improve infrastructure, raise houses, but also to help restore things like tree cover that helps keep people cooler during extreme heat events, wetlands that help absorb the fury of the storms. The American Climate Corps takes some of these points of light from across the country and is aimed at scaling that up and making it more broadly accessible to young people.
And how do these jobs help the broader fight against climate change?
We have a few bottlenecks when it comes to tackling the climate crisis. The first is, are we going to have the widgets, the gadgets to install? So in the US, we had very little solar manufacturing capacity. Thanks to President Biden's leadership, we've increased solar manufacturing capacity by a factor of 8. Thing number 2 is, can we get the people? The projections of the Inflation Reduction Act is that if we get everything right, we could be tripling the pace of deploying this stuff just in this decade. That's a lot more people. So this is all about both having folks available, but also using this challenge as a moment for maximum uplift for people who are so often left out and left behind.
Can you tell me about some of the forces, even before the Biden administration, that helped set this in motion?
So this was an idea that I think really got surfaced early on in the campaign cycle. It got picked up by President Biden, who really saw the promise and potential in it to take this idea that drew from the experience under FDR, the Peace Corps generation, the AmeriCorps generation, and sought to harness that power for climate.
A civilian climate corps is one component of the Green New Deal advocated by the Sunrise Movement during the 2020 election cycle. Lawmakers like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez helped bring public attention to the proposal, and Bernie Sanders included a climate corps as part of his own vision for the Green New Deal. Progressives and activists pushed for a civilian climate corps to be part of Joe Biden's Build Back Better legislation. The president responded by calling for the corps' creation, but the program lacked funding. What message do you think the creation of this program sends to all the young people who want President Biden to take aggressive action against climate change?
I mean, the American Climate Corps, I think, is an embodiment of this idea that we are all in this together. There's just this incredible partnership to be had that has been the driver of the progress we've made, and that's the partnership between Joe Biden and young people, organizers that continue to propel important actions and step forward, including today's launch of the American Climate Corps.
People interested in signing up can go to whitehouse.gov/climatecorps to find out more. There is much more that Biden must do to address the climate crisis, but it is a welcome sign that grassroots activism can deliver results. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe to stay up to date on stories like this one.